I think this area is being subjected to a controlled experiment.
Controlled by who? By the government? By a corporation? By reticulans?
They've done it before. DDT in the 50s, Agent Orange, germ warfare on unsuspecting neighborhoods.
Yes, but why, Mulder? Why would they intentionally create a populace that destroys itself?
Fear. It's the oldest tool of power. If you're distracted by fear of those around you, it keeps you from seeing the actions of those above.
Hello and welcome to episode 30 of Most Unwanted, an X-Files podcast. I'm Luke, and with me, as ever, is Chex.
Hi.
We're here for episode 30, Blood, our vampire episode.
I may have been a little bit wrong.
Well, yeah, we made some predictions, and they've not all come off, we'll be honest.
Well, I'm still holding out hope. There's possibilities that there's going to be a vampire episode.
Who knows?
Blood would have been a good title for a vampire episode, but we didn't get that.
We did get an episode about blood, though, but we'll get to that in due time.
Yeah.
Before we start, how's your week been, Chex?
Oh, so busy. So busy. I have just been... I don't even know what I've been doing. I know I've been working a lot, going to different functions and whatnot, but I'm just tired all the time. And even watching the episode for this episode, I was just so tired watching it. I do worry that it's flavoured my opinion on the episode a little bit. I'm not sure.
We shall see. We shall see.
How about yourself?
It's been okay, actually. It's been Tasha's birthday this week, so I've been quite busy with that. We went to Disney on Ice, which was an adventure. Highlight of the night, though, was Aladdin's wig falling off, which is always a benefit.
Was he bald?
No. He had hair and everything, but it wasn't like Aladdin-esque hair. But yeah, so we went to that, which was good. I'm trying to think what else we did the weekend. And everyone came round for a few drinks on the Friday.
Yeah, Tasha's birthday, yeah. So that was nice. It's been a long time since we've just had a few drinks. That was good. We just put on some music, had a few drinks, played a few drinking games.
Music as well, which was weird.
That was strange. You know what? Kind of into it. Yeah. Kind of into it. Once you got past the initial, this is weird, while listening to Christmas songs in October, I forgot how much I like Christmas songs. It was good, yeah.
You just have to get into the spirit. I mean, I'm still in my Halloween spirit, so I sound like some kind of goth. Still in my Halloween spirit. So I'm waiting for that to pass, and as soon as October 31st is done, I'm in Christmas mode.
In Christmas mode, yeah. I think I'm going to be the same this year. We played drinking games.
We did, sort of, yeah.
We played G'day Bruce.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the best game, to be honest, rules-wise, but it's a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. We sort of bumbled our way through it at first, and if you don't know what G'day Bruce is, I mean, honestly, you're not missing out on a lot. I would just YouTube it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like a lot, but when you've got a few drinks down, it's quite funny.
Difficult.
It's difficult, and it's quite funny.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was fun. Yeah. Apart from that, pretty much same old.
Well, we better not lose any blood, sweat, or tears on this intro.
Beautiful.
So
absolutely beautiful. You've been practicing.
Shall I ruin it now with a terrible one?
Yeah.
And then, I feel a bit bloody hot here, so let's get on with the episode.
Back to normal.
So, episode 3 of season 2, entitled Blood.
Yes.
We had a lot of theories about this going in, as we mentioned. Oh, you specifically had
I just assumed maybe it might be a vampire episode. That was one of my predictions in the sort of post-content of season 1. Speaking of, if you don't mind me interrupting for a few seconds, I think that your prediction of a solo episode is going to struggle, because even though we know Scully was pregnant, they're working her into every episode, even if it's just a brief moment. That's
the thing. You can definitely tell, and we'll go through this when we go over the episode, that they're trying to limit her lower body half appearance.
Yeah.
You see a lot of shots of just her face, like, and it's...
At the moment, she's like the girl in the chair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, she's the person helping Mulder, and it's the Mulder show right now. And obviously, I mean, they couldn't help it. Like, it's
just one of those things, yeah.
And it kind of works with the fact that the X-Files have been disbanded. It kind of works. So, you know, if there's ever a time for her to have to be off work, it was this time. But
hey-oh, Will, you never know. There might be an episode coming up where she is completely over it, Will. But we'll see. So we'll just get into the episode then. It was entitled Blood. It's directed by David Nutter, written by, and this one blew me away, Darren Morgan was on the... Well, it said original story by Darren Morgan, I think.
I read about this because when I usually look up the writer... it had a different format, and it threw me off a little bit. And it's actually, is it Glenn Morgan?
So the three who were writing it were Darren Morgan, Glenn Morgan, and James Wong. But carry on.
So Glenn Morgan, James Wong, we've seen plenty of times write an episode, and Darren Morgan's actually Glenn's brother. He coined this story, but he actually wasn't available when they wrote the script for it, so he got given credit of the idea.
Also, Darren Morgan, the Fluke Man from last episode. So
oh yeah, of course he was. Yeah.
So we got
completely forgot about that.
Fluke Man, I'm writing duties.
That was in your production notes, wasn't it?
It was. Speaking of which,
right, we need to address something here. People weren't happy.
Yeah,
there was
at least one tweet said that's not great.
And you know what one tweet means? Riots on the streets.
Yeah.
Honestly, I listened to it and I wasn't happy either. I should have tweeted in myself.
Well, I mean, you do have a Twitter account, so you could.
People are angry.
Yeah.
We need to do something about it.
So we've got a contractor. We've got someone in to help us with the theme tune.
Yeah.
And we'll put that in now.
Luke's production notes.
And I think you'll agree, it's a much better production quality.
Well, I mean, it's definitely better than what we did.
It's in tune.
It's not the production I'd hoped for this podcast, but we're well on our way.
Yeah.
And we got to say thank you to your fiancée, Tash, for providing such a lovely intro.
I mean, I'm hoping this is a stepping stone to maybe some kind of famous singer eventually doing a cover of this theme.
If we could get Beyonce
doing the cover.
That'd be phenomenal.
I'll tweet her and see what happens. We'll tweet her from the account and see what happens.
Yeah, okay, let's do that.
Yeah,
I mean, you know what? I bet she doesn't get it that often. She's got to reply. You never know.
Yeah.
And I think if all of our listeners tweet her as well and ask her to do the production notes jingle for our podcast, how could she say no?
She will definitely not say no. She'll see those vast numbers flooding her inbox.
You can't ignore that.
I think Beyonce next episode. We shall see.
Yeah.
We do make some bold predictions on this show, as you know, about vampire blood episodes. So, the original three premises that the writers worked on for this episode were Glenn Morgan's own hematophobia, which is the fear of blood, the Malathian spraying controversy in, I think it said Southern California.
I have no idea what that is.
They do mention it in the episode later on when, is it Larry Winters, what's his name now? Not the sheriff, the guy who was talking to the sheriff.
Oh.
Like the mayor or something like that, I'm not sure. They were talking to him and he starts saying there was a big controversy in Southern California, and that's basically what they're referencing. And also, Glenn Morgan and James Wong had the idea to focus on postal workers. So they sort of mixed in the three, and then Chris Carter also chimed in and said he wanted a story to involve digital readouts. And so we get this sort of mishmash of ideas.
They just threw it all together.
I guess that's how writing works.
I love the fact that they've sat down and went, what's spooky? Postal workers. Postal workers are spooky. Let's draw. Let's write a story about that.
I mean, you do hear, there's that term in there, going postal and stuff, which is like based from a postal worker who did go mental and started killing people.
I've never heard that term before in my life.
You never heard it? Like
going postal?
Going postal, like, I think it came from like, a postal worker who just went mad with a gun or something like that. So.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, the climax at the end of the episode, which we'll talk about later on, is based on an actual shooting in 1966, the Texas University massacre, which I think everyone knows about whenever someone talks about a clock tower and a sniper and stuff like that. Everyone's heard of it. The scenes for the university were partially shot at British Columbia, or British Columbia's university, but because of firearm restrictions in Canada, they had to create a replica of the clock tower's interior for a lot of the internal shots and stuff like that for later on. As we mentioned, this is the first episode that Darren Morgan helped write, and he would later return to write the episode Humbug later this season. So we'll find out what that is later on. So,
is that a Christmas-themed episode?
Humbug.
It's about a mint.
One of the two, yeah. I mean, after watching this episode, I don't count anything out with their stories. As we know from watching this, the lone gunmen were brought back for this episode. Apparently, this was by popular demand. They were originally meant as a one-off sort of like set of characters, but they were brought back because of how popular that they were with the online audience. Apparently,
I mean, again, we'll get into this, but I was a little bit disappointed with the lack of fanfare around them. Like they just got sort of plopped in the episode. Like,
I suppose, yeah.
You know what I mean? But anyway, that's for the show.
And also, this episode starred a porn actress, Ashleen Gear, who played McRoberts, the one with the mechanic. Glenn Morgan even joked that X-Files was so cutting edge that it used an adult film star who was still working in the industry.
Wow.
So,
interesting.
That's my notes from this week.
Okay.
Tune in next week for more. I was going to sign off then, but...
I mean, you don't need to, because next week, when Beyonce starts us off, it's going to get kicked off with a bang. Yeah. I'm starting to enjoy the production notes because of the high profile they're getting in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go from Beyonce. Who's bigger than Beyonce? Maybe we'll...
Oh, I mean, that's a tough question. Is there anyone bigger than Beyonce? Is probably more apt. Michael Jackson.
We'll get him.
It could be difficult, if we're being honest.
Well, we'll work on the logistics another time. Anyway, on with the show.
Yes.
We open in the postal center in Franklin, Pennsylvania, and there are some machines whirring away, and we see that it's a post sorting office, where it's, all these letters are whizzing around, and we see a man who is typing in numbers, and we later find out that this man is Ed Funch. He's working hard. He's quite vigorous in how he's typing in these numbers.
He's punching the numbers in.
This is his job, and he knows how to do it. The machine jams, though, and as he tries to get the letter out, he cuts his finger and lets out the weediest noise I've ever heard.
Well, I mean, before we sort of... Obviously, it later gets shown that he's afraid of blood. But at this point, it was like he'd never seen blood before. It was like, there's blood.
Yeah.
I was like, you just cut your finger, mate. It's a paper cut.
His character for this episode, I didn't know how to place it. And
no, I know what you mean.
I mean, we'll get to our thoughts on the episode later on, but he was an odd individual. And I mean, I know he was meant to be, but we'll carry on. A guy comes over to Ed. He's just credited as Harry, but it's his boss. And he asks him if he's okay, and he says, "Yeah." He says, "It's blood," as you said. But your version was better.
It's blood. Is it Harry? Did you say the boss?
Harry is the boss.
And now he's like, "Yeah, it's paper cuts." Yeah. It's like, this must happen every day. We work with paper. Surely this happens all the time.
Yeah, this guy.
The fact that his boss even came up to him and said, "Are you okay?"
Yeah,
like, it's a paper cut.
Yeah, it's not like he's cut his thumb off or anything like this.
I sliced my thumb open at that. I'm going off on a tangent again. I sliced my thumb open on a blade at work once. We was using cutting tools to put in like this big sort of dynamic presser. And I was cleaning the blades and I slipped and sliced my thumb open.
Did you say this is blood?
I didn't say this is blood. I mean, it was a pretty thick sort of gash. And honestly, you would not believe the amount of blood that can come from just a cut in the thumb.
Yeah.
Honestly, like, it was just... Before I knew it, it was all down my clothes. It was all over the place. And I was just looking at it and I didn't know what to do. Like, where do you go? But yeah, so I don't sympathise with this guy at all. No.
But his boss says that he needs to speak to him. Immediately, it sounds like bad news. And we find out that it is. He says it's not easy, but he's going to have to let him go. He says they're cutting back, and unfortunately, he's the lowest man on the pole, I think is how he words it.
Probably was the last to be hired. That's the way they usually work.
Or even if it was just like the lowest ranked down.
Well, no one liked him.
Yeah, I mean, he does seem a bit strange.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the kind of guy that would go for drinks with everybody else after work.
Yeah, which is a shame. It shouldn't be like that, but it is. It's a dog-eat-dog world, especially postal delivery service.
I've heard stories.
It is literally dog-eat-dog. They chase postal.
We're going with that old cliche. Mm-hmm. Okay, I love it. Yeah.
Ed even asks if he could work part-time.
Can I just go back to that? Yeah. Can we just ad-lib that in? What? Can we just say that was why he is so strange? It's because he used to be out on the field, but like he got chased,
traumatized by a dog,
like by a pack of dogs. I'm thinking got cornered. Like they just started yelling insults at him, calling him a nerd.
Oh god, these dogs are mean.
I know, yeah. And then so he requested a transfer to an internal office. Yeah. But he always thinks about it. Every time he sees a letter, and he sees a lot of letters.
That's going to haunt a man, yeah. And he's an ex-Navy, as we find out later on. So, how did he get through basic? Anyway.
Honestly, I mean, doesn't it make sense? Everything in this episode makes sense now.
Yeah. It's his fear of dogs, yeah, you're right. Holy, we've figured it out. Anyway. Harry gives him a check for $100 and says that they did a collection for him. And says he can even stay till the end of the week. And Ed,
nice guy.
Yeah. Wow. Cheers. Thanks for the $100, which is probably like what, 80 quid or something at this time.
Back then it'd been about 50 quid.
Yeah.
For us anyway.
Yeah. Not worth it. Just like keep your money. Anyway, he looks upset and he goes back to his machine to carry on his work. And as he's working and punching in the numbers, a message appears on the screen that just says "kill."
Kill.
And it's accompanied by this like noise, like this shrill sort of ding. Yeah, it's like a proper horror movie noise. This annoyed me throughout the entire episode. Yeah. This noise. We'll get through the rest of the episode, but these messages are so campy, and I get the feeling that's what they're going for. They're going for a comedic.
I know what you're saying,
but it just irritated me.
Yeah.
Anyway, he carries on typing, and it comes up again. It says "kill" again, and he looks around, and as he looks back, it just simply says "kill 'em all."
Yeah.
I'll mention this later on, but I'll bring it up now because I just remembered. Why is the computer shortening them to M?
No, yeah. It's not like space is an issue.
Yeah, I don't understand. Why is it using slang, this computer? So this is definitely not going to be a vampire episode. Let's get that straight right now. And this is also the weirdest opening we've ever had to an X-Files episode.
Yeah. And I didn't know how to take it, to be honest. I was very tired when I watched this, so I'm glad I'm not the only one that sort of had these thoughts, because I thought maybe I was just being grumpy. But I as soon as I saw this, I'm not going to lie, my first thought was, are we in for another one of these episodes?
Yeah.
And it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I mean...
It had its good points, but...
picked up at the end, but there's a lot of, like, campy stuff in this that just did not click with me.
The messages would just seem so forced in. Yeah. And, like, they try and force it in as if... Mulder, at one point, Mulder says someone's delivering these messages himself. Yeah. And I was like, well, that makes no sense whatsoever. What, they're hacking into microwaves? Yeah. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's...
And so the only thing I can... And again, I'm jumping way ahead, but the only thing I can assume is it's brought on by this LSD component that Scully mentions, like sort of hallucinations. But then... Why did they go down? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. These messages annoyed me as well.
Yeah. We go into the intro. And then when we come back, we are in the Civic Center in Franklin, Pennsylvania again. And we're in an elevator, and it's absolutely packed. I thought at this point this is going to be like Ghost in the Machine, was it?
Yes. Yeah.
Where the elevator just falls. I thought we're going to get a falling elevator. I initially thought it was machines taking over or something. Didn't end up that way. And in this elevator, we see a message flash up on the elevator. On the elevator's like screen where the numbers are, just saying, same noise. We see it saying no air.
Tell me how I'm supposed to be with no air.
We don't need any more singing,
We
especially
do, because I'm a great singer.
Please tell him to stop, guys. And then it pops up again, another message saying can't breathe.
I can't.
You're going to do Metallica for Kill 'Em All, isn't it? And then, it does pop up, Kill 'Em All, flashes up again.
There's plenty of space for them.
Yeah.
Plenty of space.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
It hard cuts then to a taped-off police area, and we see bodies littering the floor. And Mulder enters with another police officer. We find out is Sheriff Spencer. He thanks Mulder for coming, as he has no clue as to what's going on here. And he says, I realise the FBI's behavioural science unit normally profiles murder suspects that are still at large. And it must be odd being asked to profile our suspects, all of whom are dead. So Mulder looks around, and he says, Spencer says that the sheriff says that the suspect's body is outside, and he was shot by a security guard. He says that the witnesses that were in the elevator are in the hospital, so he's definitely not killed everybody in here. And Mulder's quite broody here, I thought. He was like...
He seems bored.
Yeah.
Like it's just a normal case. I don't think he realises yet what it is. But I also thought, on the other hand, I thought the cop was like the most helpful cop we've seen yet.
He was lovely.
He was really nice guy, really polite, really courteous. Yeah. Grateful for Mulder for coming down there. Which is usually we see the police as a sort of semi-antagonists. You know what I mean?
They always get annoyed that the FBI are getting involved, but this guy, he's like, yeah, come on down.
I don't have a clue about this case. Help.
I did jump forward as well. Like while we were in that elevator, there was a guy who was looking at this screen. Who was like sweating quite a lot.
Yeah, he was obviously nervous. Wasn't he?
Yeah. And this turns out that this is the suspect, obviously. But yeah, we see all blood smeared on the elevator door, and it's on the inside as well. So you know there's been some kind of like fight or something happened here.
Some sort of struggle.
Yeah. And there's also a crack on the elevator screen, like it's been smashed.
Which Mulder notices immediately.
Yeah.
As he always does. Like, don't get me wrong, I understand he's a good detective, but like, to immediately go for that, it just seems a bit strange how he always knows what to look for.
Naturally, I would have thought it just got smashed in the wall or whatever happened.
It doesn't really mean anything. But
anyway, he's onto it straight away.
Yeah, he knows what he's talking about.
And they say that the suspect is a 42-year-old real estate agent. And the sheriff notes that this is so weird because since colonial times, there's only been 3 murders in the area, but in the last 6 months, 7 people have been killed. Have killed 22, sorry. And he says per capita, that's higher than the combined homicide rates of Detroit, DC, and Los Angeles.
That's a lot.
That is a hell of a lot. So the dance going on, by the way.
That's how.
Oh,
I'm
right.
just fidgety. This way doesn't make a noise. If I'm doing that, it makes noise.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
It's dancing.
Yeah. And he also mentions that each suspect was killed by a cop as they were resisting arrest, basically.
Yeah.
He does mention it's something called suicide by cop, which I've never heard of that term before.
Me neither. But, I mean, yeah, essentially, these people would commit a crime and then when they were going to be arrested, they would continue being violent.
Yeah.
And until the point where it would give the police officer no choice but to.
I feel like that term would not be very popular these days.
No, and to be fair, you'd think they could just shoot him in the leg and then put him in cuffs.
Especially if he's not got like a gun or something like that. You know.
Well, yeah, and there's 7 people. It's not like a one-off. Like I can understand it going south and you've had to fire your gun and it just ended up killing him. But 7 people seems.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
we're not going to get into this. This topic's way too big.
That's
for this
a
podcast.
massive rabbit hole. Yeah. We'll talk about that in our sister podcast where we talk. 2 Englishmen talk about America's laws.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would that podcast be called, Luke?
The Colonial Takeover.
The Okay. This seems like a good idea.
Nothing could go wrong there. Oh, yeah. Anyway.
I love figuring out names for our fake podcasts. I just love it. It's my favourite joke.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot as well.
And we are going to have a network.
Yeah.
What have we got so far? We've got...
Juicy since 1937 or whatever it was.
38, the Ribena podcast.
Yeah.
We've got the colonial takeover.
Yeah.
Two British guys, American politics and law podcast.
Yeah. Which sounds wrong.
It's got a bad vibe to it, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
We've got, what was the Homeward Bound podcast?
Going Home or something like that.
No, Back
to the Home or something like
Back
that.
to the Helm or something like that. I can't remember. The Homeward Bound podcast. Brilliant.
I watched Homeward Bound the other day, actually.
It was good.
Good film, yeah. We'll save that for the podcast.
Yeah,
though.
obviously. We don't want to use all of our content. We had Excellent, our spreadsheets podcast.
Yeah.
Honestly, stick with us, guys, because we're taking over the world.
One listen at a time, literally. Anyway. Right.
If we cover all subjects, there's no one that won't listen.
Yeah, they have to listen. That's how we'll get them.
And then we'll just filter them all back into the X-Files podcast. Yeah. It's a lot of work.
But if it pays off, those numbers. We digress.
Just a little.
Scene 2 this is, by the way. Mulder starts asking if the suspects had any substance abuse or any kind of substance in the system, and the sheriff says that it was negative. Mulder starts lifting up the sheet on the suspect, and the cop says that this guy, he was a nice guy. He never seemed like a problem. He's saying that he played softball with him, and he played right field. As he's doing this, Mulder notices green on his fingertips. Yeah. And Mulder also says in this part that he played right field as well in softball, which I thought was them hinting at that something is going to happen to Mulder in a similar way, because they're linking the suspect with him in that terms of right field. Yeah,
possibly. I thought it was just Mulder going off track because he already made up his mind of what happened.
I thought it was laying the groundwork for something later on.
It's possible.
I mean, it's sort of... It didn't really come off, but we'll see. We'll get.
That would be a weird disease that only affected people who played right field.
Right field in softball. There's got to be a few, though. There's got to be a few.
And if you then, after the plague's gone, if you convert to right field, your value goes sky high because you're the only one.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Moneyball.
But then you'd suspect him, wouldn't you, of causing the plague?
Yeah, he'd be top of the suspect list. So. Anyway, the cop says, what could bring anyone to do this? And then we go to... we're still in Franklin, Pennsylvania. Yeah. But we're at a cash point now. And it's Ed again.
An ATM.
An ATM, yes. And there's a girl behind him as he's trying to draw some money out. And she starts getting a nosebleed. He turns around and sees the blood. And we get this long zoom in and focus on the blood. And he starts to flinch. And
yeah, this is where you sort of realise he's got that phobia.
He's got a phobia of this, yeah. And he turns back round to the cash machine, and it simply says security guard. And he looks around and he sees that there is a security guard standing outside the front of this store. And he looks back and the machine says, take his gun and kill them all. Again, kill them all. It's going to drive me up the wall, this machine is. He starts freaking out at the machine. He starts punching the machine. And the guard naturally turns around and scares him away. He starts shouting at him and Ed legs it. So, yeah, again, to be fair, thinking of it now, actually going through the Ed scenes, they are quite funny. Apart from the end.
Because it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It doesn't make any sense.
Analysing it, at the time I weren't laughing, it didn't seem that funny, but now looking at it, it is quite stupid.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
But, I mean, we'll carry on. We go to Venango County Sheriff's Office, where Mulder's there using that office as his base for this. And he's talking about mass killings while he's looking at pictures of these Franklin killings. And he's talking about the difference between serial and spree murders. Yeah. And he says these murders appear to be sprees because, serial murders happen when it's premeditated. Sprees are just... a lot of people at once.
But these people all seem to be sort of healthy. He says outwardly normal and unlikely to fit a criminal profile, I think is what he says.
Yeah, he basically says that statistically the suspects are more likely to be victims than the killers. Yeah. So, and while this is happening, it cuts to the FBI's National Academy in Quantico, and Scully's reading this report from Mulder. And he shows the pictures of the killers as they were normal, like just happy, smiling pictures, and then that cuts to them as they've been killed after these attacks. It cuts back to Mulder, and he hears a rumble and looks up. And in my head, I was like, he thinks aliens have got something to do with this. He says he didn't know what caused it, but they did find a non-toxic organic compound from plants on the last perpetrator. I like this cut in between Mulder and Scully because it shows that they're still working together, even though they're like separated. Yeah, I suppose.
Which is a lot of what we said in the last episode.
Yeah.
They've got this sort of weird partnership at the moment.
Mulder says and then Mulder starts talking about what could be causing it, and he does say that there have been. He breaks out the U word basically. He says there have been reported abductee paranoia in UFO mass abduction cases. In my head, I was thinking something, and then Scully just says it. Yeah. Like, as it comes back to her, she just says, I was wondering when he was getting to that. And I was like, she's on the same page. She knows what he's like. But he then goes on to say that this isn't the case, which Scully looks visibly shocked at. He says the only connection in these cases is the destruction of an electronic device at the scene. And he says that he's never had more trouble developing a profile. Yeah. And there's no way to know who will be a killer or who will be killed.
It's quite a scary thought, really.
Yeah. I mean,
because you're surrounded by potential killers then.
Essentially, yeah. We don't know who it's going to be, but we then cut back to Franklin, Pennsylvania, and we see a woman entering a mechanics. And this is Mrs. McRoberts.
Yeah. Bonnie.
Is that her first name? Yeah, I
Bonnie.
didn't get her first name. I just put Mrs. McRoberts.
I don't know whether they actually say her first name.
Yeah, I don't think they did. But anyway, she's walking into the mechanics, and we hear whistling. And she calls out to what we assume is the mechanic working on his car.
Why is he working in the dark?
Yeah, that is weird.
Like, I know it's meant to make him look creepy, but he's making himself look creepy. Yeah. Like, he's literally working on a job that you need light. Like, you need as much light as you can.
Yeah.
Like,
but he's got one. He's got one light.
Yeah, but like a little torch light. It makes no sense.
I know. There's a lot in this episode. She calls out to him, and he says, "You're late." And throughout all this.
Oh, he's shady, isn't he?
Yeah,
he's shady.
He's meant to be shady, but he's not. That's a twist.
Yeah, it is.
That is a twist. But
who is shady? Mrs. McRoberts.
Mrs. McRoberts. She is.
Is she a Mrs.?
Yeah, she's married.
Oh yeah, she mentions her husband, doesn't she? Although, did she mention her husband just to sort of try and get out of it? Like, oh, I'm not going to come over to you because my husband's outside. Do you know what I mean? Like a sort of safety thing.
I mean, to be fair, there is a lot of backstory into Mrs. McRoberts we could go into in this episode.
You know what? I actually think that's true. Because she's very nervous, isn't she? Yeah. I reckon at one point she was chased by a pack of dogs. Yeah. And they cornered her. Yeah. One of them called her a nerd.
Oh, God. These dogs, man. Franklin has got a problem.
It's got a problem. Yeah. And that's why you never know who the dogs are going to chase. This is a much better story than this episode.
Well, we'll get on to Carter. We know you're listening. Anyway.
I'm so sorry.
We have derailed so much. She says that she'll pay up and get out of here if it's ready. The mechanic starts asking about how she broke it, and she says it's a long story. And she asks if it's fixed, to which he says it is, but there's other problems, so you need to come over here.
Typical
and
engineer.
Yeah.
You know that
going for a flat tire, and all of a sudden,
you ask how much it's going to be, and you get that. Yeah. It's a big job.
He's ripping me off. But in this case, she thinks he's doing more than ripping her off. She looks shocked.
To be fair, he does give really creepy vibes.
Yeah, but I do wonder if this scene is from her perspective. You know what I mean?
It's possible, yeah. Maybe the lights are on.
Maybe he's the most innocent man in the world.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hi, how's it going? Come on in, have a look at this."
That wouldn't make it interesting, actually. Yeah. I like that idea that it looks creepy because it's from her perspective. Yeah, that's interesting.
Again, we always seem to try and spin these ideas to
defend it.
Yeah. I don't think it was that way.
Maybe not.
But anyway, she says her husband's waiting for her, And he says that she won't get far without it being fixed. Again, being a bit creepy. So she walks over. He starts up the engine, and it's hooked up to a machine. And he says it's doing some diagnostics tests. And he says that the engine isn't kicking out enough horsepower. So he says to her that she needs to come over and look again. And he starts giving out all this mechanic speech about, this has changed, this is wrong. I didn't write this down.
No, I mean, to be fair, it's all this sort of... It's a perfectly innocent conversation, but you can see why it was taken badly.
Yeah.
Because it's got creepy undertones. But the most important thing happening is what's happening on the engine diagnostic display. So
she looks at it, and it just flashes up liar. It carries on, and the we get he gets she looks again, and it says he's a liar, and then it says he'll rape you.
It is annoying. It is annoying.
Really annoying, isn't it? Yeah. She looks scared, understandably so. If a machine just told you it's going to rape you,
yeah. God, you really didn't like this episode, did you?
No.
This might be the first episode we sort of disagree, because I didn't think it was too bad. I've got my... Well, that's interesting.
Well, we'll get to the end. She looks scared and angry, and he says he will kill her, so she needs to kill him first. And then at that moment, he puts her hand on her shoulder, and she just grabs a spanner and smacks him in the head.
Yeah.
The light goes swinging as he goes down. She goes to hit him again, and he kicks her off. Grabs a hammer to try and hit her back. But she's grabbed this... it says in the script it's an oil can nozzle. I didn't know what it was.
It's like a sharp object.
Sharp object, yeah. And she stabs him in the chest.
A shank.
Yeah. Pretty much. And it's hollow as well, so as she stabs him, all this blood starts coming out of it. Ooh. Not literally, like, pouring out. But
yeah.
That would have been a good effect, though, actually. Yeah, probably with the help of the comedic tone of this. It was just like... like a geyser coming out.
Like the Tin Man.
Yeah. I was thinking, have you ever seen that Peter Jackson film, the zombie one that he did?
No.
It's just like an absolute gore fest, but it's played to make it stupid, you know what I mean? There's buckets of blood for it. Yeah. I imagine it like that. I would have... Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, need to stop trying to improve on this episode. And then, as this happens, the machine says, analysis complete.
It's sassy. Sassy machine.
We then cut to the next day, and Mulder's photographing the victim. Police are everywhere, and he looks at the murder weapon. He starts looking at the machine as well, which... it's not smashed, the machine isn't it? It's inside the car. There's a machine damage.
Yeah.
Because he starts looking through a clipboard and sees that they always change. The Larry Winter, the county supervisor... introduces himself, to which Mulder says, "Pardon my rubber."
He's got rubber gloves.
He's got rubber.
Let's be clear about this.
Mulder's got some zingers in this episode. To be fair, to give credit to the episode, he has some funny lines in it. So he asks, Larry asks if this is more of the same to the sheriff, and the sheriff says that he doesn't think that it's connected. And Larry starts to think that maybe this is copycat killings. But Mulder sees that the dashboards on the car were smashed, and he starts to say that it is connected. So they go to the car owner's house, and we see it's McRoberts again, who's at the door. She looks shocked that the police are here, and she says that she'll be late for work, but Mulder's having none of it, and he says, "You can blame me."
Yeah.
After,
to be fair, the FBI came to my house is a good excuse for being late.
Yeah, I mean, I'd use it, to be honest.
I feel like you need proof.
Yeah.
Do the FBI give out,
have a picture of Mulder?
Little notices? For the listeners, can I just say Luke did a visual gag there? He just posed like he was posing for a picture with Mulder, and then realised that joke wasn't going to land on a podcast.
Well... I just acted it out. I didn't think I'd be called out on a visual gag, to be honest. But anyway, so they walk into her house. It's quite a fancy house, actually. And she says that car trouble is her husband's department. And when they ask where he's gone, she says that he's gone to Pittsburgh for a meeting. She carries on and asks if she can make her breakfast, to which Mulder says it's the most important meal of the day.
It certainly is.
And... she starts messing with the microwave, and
you knew what was going to happen.
A message flashes up. He knows.
Dun.
Mulder asks about the car invoice, saying that she signed off on it. And the microwave then says, "Kill them both."
Dun.
As Mulder asks if she picked up the car, to which she says yes.
Dun. No, that was wrong.
You overdone there. I did like how she said yes to his question and kill them both as well, so that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the silver lining in this episode.
Well, no, that's good. We said at the start we're going to be positive.
Positivity, that's what I say.
We look for the positive side of even the worst episode. Think of Space, think how much fun we had with that.
It was fun.
Yeah.
He asks how the machine was broken, or the dashboard was broken, and she stops and says that she did it. I broke it. And she goes to a drawer, opens it up, and we see that it's full of knives. Mulder starts asking if she saw something, to which she gets a knife, as Mulder says that he can help. She pulls out the knife and slashes. Well, he puts his hand on her, and she slashes at him, just like how he did yesterday.
It's his arm, doesn't she?
Yeah, exactly. And she jumps on Mulder, and Spencer pulls his gun on her. Mulder shouts no to try and get him to stop, but Spencer shoots her. Well, we just see a gunshot sound, goes to white.
Kill shot again?
Kill shot, yeah.
Just straight in the head?
I know, yeah, these policemen,
brutal,
no prisoners.
I don't know. I'm going to send an email into what was the podcast that we was going to do?
Colonial
Takeover. Yeah, I'm going to send an email in. Just have a look at this episode.
Yeah. I'm liking Colonial Takeover less and less as a title the more we say it.
You coined it.
Yeah, I did. Everyone makes mistakes. The FBI... Sorry. Yeah, it cuts to white, and then we then see another hard cut straight to McRoberts' autopsy, which Scully is conducting at the FBI National Academy again. And she starts saying that usually in cases of violent death, there's heightened adrenaline in the body. But she notes that in this case, there was 200 times the amount of adrenaline in her body. So Scully notes that the adrenal gland had hemorrhaged from where, apparently. And she says that this indicates it was in case of extreme phobia. And she also says that behind one of her eyeballs, I think, she says that there was high concentrations of the chemical from earlier on.
Yeah.
And Scully believes that due to the heightened adrenaline in the body and this chemical, it mixed and basically made a chemical that was similar to LSD. I didn't get the full name of it. But
LSD-like reaction, she says.
Yeah.
So you'd assume hallucinations of sorts.
Yeah, basically. We then cut to a shopping mall in Franklin, and Ed is here. He's in his suit. He's on the job hunt. This guy is, and he tries to apply for a job there, but he gets brushed off immediately. He walks through the store and sees a sign for a blood drive, which is immediately something that he's not going to be wanting to be around. And a woman asks if he'll sign up. He panics and runs over towards where these TV screens are showing a football game. American football game. Don't know if I have to clarify.
Well, I mean, we've got English and American listeners, so you've got to figure out what type of football it is.
Exactly. And as he walks over to these screens, they switch to static. We see multiple scenes flash up. We see Charles Manson. We see a scene from the LA riots. We see the Rodney King police beatings. We see an exploding building and another riot scene. And also the famous O.J. Simpson coach chase.
Yeah. All basic violent imagery, or what you'd associate. Ooh. No. I was going to say, would you associate it with blood? Because, that was a big... But then, I don't know.
No, I think it's
just violent.
It's just violent. Yeah, I think it's just violent stuff. And Charles Manson, who was violent.
But yeah, that comes under the
just clarifying if you do know who Charles Manson was.
No, okay.
Just covering all bases.
To be fair, I I know it sounds stupid, but like when it flashed up so quick, and I did have to sort of rewind it and pause it just to make sure it was him.
Yeah,
but
there was a load of things in this where I had to sort of I had to look what they were just to see what they were.
I'll be honest, I just saw generic riots. I didn't know what riots they was. All I picked up on was the Ford Bronco and the Charles Manson.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair though, these were all things that were like quite recent. Like, because this was 94, I think the LA riots were like 91 or 92 or something like that, and that was connected to the Rodney King stuff. So if this would be like these days showing what was like I don't know. We don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but like a recent like terror attack or something like that. These days, it'd be something similar to that, I guess.
I think the important question is: do people still drive Ford Broncos?
I feel like OJ's definitely brought that sort of image down, hasn't he?
Because you can't say it without thinking of OJ.
Yeah.
It's so synonymous with his name. Yeah, just wondering.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think we've had Ford Broncos in the UK.
In this country, it's not really.
I don't think I've ever seen one in this
big
country.
cars don't tend to.
Well, we have big cars.
But you have to be a certain caliber of person to drive them because they're quite expensive to run. You know what I mean? So I don't know. You don't see them as often.
No.
Especially these days.
Well, it's just an interesting... I'd like to get in touch with Ford and find out.
we want a Ford dealership sponsor.
Imagine if the first interview on Most Unwanted and X-Files podcast is with a Ford spokesman.
Or O.J. Simpson.
Let's do it. It's about time we got some real interviews.
Side note, I'm sure I've mentioned this before. Have you seen the OJ interview that Sacha Baron Cohen does as one of his new characters?
Yes, yeah. We talked about it on this podcast.
Did we? Oh,
yeah, I'm pretty sure.
God, it's so funny. Yeah. Well, it's just him
cringeworthy.
It's trying to get it out of him, and it's too much to watch. Anyway, we digress again.
Did you ever watch?
We do.
Did you, it was called. It's a TV show about O.J. Simpson.
Oh, David Schwimmer was in it.
David Schwimmer was in it, and Cuba Gooding Jr. played O.J. I think it was called The People Against
O.J. Simpson.
Something like that. Yeah.
It was a crime story, wasn't it? American Crime Story.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, I've heard
so good.
It's made by the same guy who does American Horror Story, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't know. I just watched it all, and John Travolta plays one of his lawyers.
Yeah. I can't remember.
So good. I mean, I don't know what happened to his face.
Yeah, John Travolta.
I don't know what happened
to that man.
I'm pretty sure he melted at some point.
Yeah. Flying too close to the sun with those Scientologists.
No, this is just being cruel. Come on. Come on now. We're better than this. Yeah. He's got a lovely face.
Old John. Better not call him Old Johnny. Anyway, we definitely have digressed.
Yeah.
He turns around. Well, no.
What are we talking about?
Ed's looking at the screens and he sees all these violent images, and then he sees behind you flash up. And as he looks around, we see a gun section. He looks back and it simply says, "Do it."
Yeah.
So, sorry, that sounded like the Emperor from Star Wars then. Do it. We then see Mulder on one of his classic Mulder jogs.
Yeah.
He's always wearing the same shirt, I was noticing his jogs.
Well, you don't want to ruin all your shirts.
Well, that's true. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
And you're going to be sweating anyway. It makes no difference, does it, what it smells like? Just go for it. It's not like you go into the gym surrounded by people.
True. And he sees that there's a truck driving past, and it seems to be throwing something on the lawn. It drives on, and Mulder walks over to him and sees that it's flies just being dumped out onto the side. We then cut to the Lone Gunman office.
Yeah, they're back.
The highlight of this episode, I thought.
Yeah, I agree.
We see them all looking through a magnifying glass at one of these flies. And Byers, the guy in the suit, starts talking about a new fiber optic micro camera, which could be placed on the back of a fly. And Mulder says, "Imagine being one of those flies in the Oval Office," to which they don't seem that interested in. That would be amazing to have in this day and age in the Oval Office now. Like, I imagine in the past it's like boring meeting, well, not boring meetings, just like standard president meetings. Now it's a very different story, I think.
It would be very interesting. Yeah. Did you hear the story that again, I don't know whether this, we were talking about urban myths last week, I don't know whether this is like one of those, but apparently when Trump's first weekend at the White House,
I think I heard about this. Yeah.
He requested a channel for monkeys.
Yeah, it was a gorilla channel, wasn't it? Or something like that.
But it wasn't enough. Like, apparently he wanted gorillas fighting each other because he found it funny, and so they found him a video of gorillas fighting each other.
Apparently he was asking for a channel that didn't exist, so they made him one basically, wasn't it? Or something like that, and it's like...
If that's true, my days. Oh, I'd love to be a fly on the wall, I really would.
Speaking of which, I know we don't do our segment anymore, but I did come up with a segment question that fits perfectly in this.
Okay.
Where would you like to be a fly on the wall of?
Ooh. Can we go back in time?
Let's say we can go... This fly can also teleport back in time.
The assassination of JFK.
He's brought it back. It's only taken him 5 episodes. Is that
no, it's definitely the answer. Okay. Mine will be a boring answer. You know, the immediate one I think of is for those who don't know, I'm a huge Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
And the immediate one that popped into my head was the dressing room at half-time at Istanbul when we won our 5th Champions League. 3-0 down, we go in at half-time, and we come back out and we end up winning the game, drawing the game 3-3 and winning on penalties. And the first thing that popped into my head is I'd love to be in the dressing room for that 15 minutes and see what the manager said to galvanise them to go and have a display like that. So it's a bit boring for non-sports fans.
That's a really good one, to be fair.
It's just for 15 minutes, something must have happened in those 15 minutes to change the entire... Well, I mean, the next year, 2 years, you know what I mean? It really changed our club for the better, so that would be mine. What about you?
I think mine would be something selfish like that. Not saying it's selfish.
Oh my god.
I'm getting you back for last week. No, like something that's like important, I guess. Not important, but like sort of interesting to you, I guess. You could learn about all the mysteries of the world and stuff.
Yeah, of course
I don't want to know. There's probably too much to know. It'll blow your brain if you ever heard about that. So I'm thinking, I know. I would go with... do you know, during the Abbey Road sessions where the Beatles were recording and writing the Abbey Road record?
Yes, yeah.
I would love to see what it was like while they were making that, because that's like my favourite Beatles record.
You're like a massive Beatles fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I really like the Beatles.
Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy the Beatles. I mean, I'm from Liverpool, so I do enjoy the Beatles.
Pretty much. It's...
Honestly, you hear a lot of them. You hear a lot of them in Liverpool.
Yeah.
But not that I'm not a fan, but you're like a mega fan, aren't you? Yeah.
But
that's an interesting one.
But that would be such an interesting time to sort of see, and just to see the process behind it all. Like, it'd be interesting.
I have a theory on Paul McCartney.
Oh yeah. Do you reckon he's dead? Is it that one?
No, not that theory. I have a theory because the word genius gets touted a lot. You know, even if it's just musical genius, I suppose. And everyone assumes he's a genius for everything that he did with his work with the Beatles. And I don't think that's true. I just think that he's a genuinely nice man. Yeah. And I feel like he puts that forward so well in his songs that that's what endears him to everybody else. And
especially in like that kind of environment, that show business environment, being a genuinely nice guy, he's honest, so rare.
Yeah, honest, genuine, just a really lovely man. And I feel like that translates in the songs. I know it sounds harsh. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure he's a clever guy, and I know he's a brilliant songwriter, and I get that. But I think rather than saying he's not a genius, I think it's more down to the fact that he's just this lovely man. That's why him and the Beatles were so successful.
I think it's...
as opposed to this being like the sort of mastermind of music. Do you know what I mean?
I think that's... I'd say most musicians, apart from like Beethoven or something like that, who's like a musical genius at like 3. I think most people, it is literally just, especially with that, their down to earthness and just their ability to connect with.
I mean, I suppose you could put it like, this isn't a music podcast. That's our other podcast, which Luke is called
Beeling About.
Beeling about.
It's a beetling about.
Oh, beetling about.
What beeling about's Harry Stender's podcast.
So beetling about. We'll talk about this on
like
there.
we've beaten that joke to death.
But on that note, I feel like it's sort of the same with Nirvana. It's like the songs work because they're just so much emotion packed into them. Do you know what I mean?
That's
that
the
emotion and aggression.
It's just
that's why it works.
It's just raw, like
raw is a good
especially
way to
with that time because it was all like glam rock and made up stadium rock at the time. Whereas to see three dudes who just looked like normal people playing instruments, it was refreshing. But anyway, yeah.
More of that on beetling about.
Yeah, beetling about, followed by... Anyway, no, let's move. Let's move swiftly on. The lone gunmen say that these flies are Eurasian cluster flies. That was a mouthful. They apparently damage crops, and they start coming up with conspiracy theories about what the flies are. Byers says that it's some kind of like South American plan to destroy or destabilize the West or America's crops, but we find out that these flies have basically been, as they say, nuked, which are just irradiated basically. Mulder says to Byers, "Fine effort." He gives him a little slap on the shoulder, and he asks if they're familiar with the chemical that they mentioned earlier on, the green one. To which they say he hasn't read his August issue yet. To which he says, sorry boys, it arrived the same day as my subscription to Celebrity Skin. We know Mulder's that way inclined.
Yeah, we do.
He does love his... is it a nudie mag or what is it? Celebrity Skin?
You continue and I will find out for you.
Find out.
Yeah, continue like I'm listening.
Byers goes to... he says that he's got something to show him. Frohiki, I think that's his name, asks, where's Scully? And he says she would have come, but she's afraid of her love for you. And creepy as ever, he says that she's tasty. Man, this guy
is a weird guy.
He's a creepy dude, isn't he? And he says that it's men like you that give perversion a bad name. To which, I think Mulder's showing his pervy side there. Byers then shows Mulder a tape on lysergic dimethrin, which is a toxic pesticide. It says that it's experimental and acts as a natural pheromone. Have you found?
It's very interesting. Also, on that note, Celebrity Skin is a pornographic magazine. I just thought I'd throw that in there. Really sort of off the cuff. I feel like I got away with it.
Got away with it, yeah.
I'd also like to say thank you, because now my fiance is going to see nudie magazines on my phone history, so... Thanks for that. And
you're going to keep getting adverts for them on Facebook.
Yeah, I am, yeah.
So. Anyway, yes, they're talking about this toxin, or this toxic pesticide, and he says it's experimental and acts as a natural pheromone. It's meant to invoke a fear response, says Langley, who's the blonde guy.
Which immediately makes sense as to why the main Ed, the main sort of character of this story, is so affected by it because he's got a severe fear.
Yeah, exactly. And Mulder asks if it could affect humans, and Byers says that he'll show him something, and he gets out a video of them spraying this chemical called DDT, which was in the 50s, and they said that it was safe. Byers then says that 30 years later they found that women exposed to it had higher rates of breast cancer, right as they show them blasting people with this pheromone, and it also shows them spraying children as well. Safe or not, I would not let anyone spray me with a chemical. What are they doing?
I know, it's mad. I wonder if this is real footage.
I mean, it looks like it is like archive footage.
Yeah.
So
I didn't know myself. But...
I just couldn't believe it. I was like, you could say it's safe a million times. I would not let anyone spray me with a chemical.
Yeah, you remember when you was kids and then the dry ice comes out on the dance floor and you just run into it and you pretend like you're like a monster or something.
That is true.
Yeah. Oh. Maybe that's what they were doing.
Yeah.
We all like to relive our youth.
So we got kicked out of the disco last week. Anyway, the lone gunmen say that this is a different chemical, but they're basically doing the same thing. They've just learned how to not be so obvious. And Mulder asks if he can borrow Frohicke's night vision goggles, to which he says he can if he can get Scully's phone number.
Creepy guy.
Creepy, but man, I love these guys.
Yeah.
Every time they're on, they're always a joy to watch.
They're refreshing, aren't
Yeah,
they?
yeah. And I really think they spiced this episode up with just that one
And
scene.
they normalise Mulder as well.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Apparently that was the reason they were put into the
really?
series, is to make Mulder seem more credible.
Yeah.
Because they're so wacky.
Way too far, yeah.
We then see Mulder sitting in a field in the dark with his new night vision goggles, and he's looking out at the crop fields in Franklin, and he notices a rumbling in the sky again. But he can't see anything from where he is, so he drives a bit closer. We keep hearing crickets and a dog. Doesn't come into it, but
We know those dogs. Oh my god.
True, yeah, you better watch
Run,
it.
Mulder.
Yeah, you better watch it. He starts walking into the crops, and he starts. Everything starts rumbling, and he sees a helicopter flying over the top, spraying all of these crops, and it manages to actually. Mulder gets caught in the spray, falls to the ground, and sort of like passes out. We cut to the next scene where we're at Franklin Community Hospital, and Scully is doing Mulder's blood samples, basically. Yeah, so Scully's doing Mulder's bloods. Larry's not buying any of this, which immediately I thought, oh, he's in on it.
Yeah. He's a little bit too argumentative about it.
Yeah. And usually when in this show, like if you come up against like that much friction, it's usually for a reason.
Yeah. Think Jersey Devil.
Exactly, yeah. Mulder explains what he saw, and he says that he got covered in this pesticide. And Larry basically starts taking it out on Mulder at this point. He says that Mulder's got a penchant for spooky evidence. What a diss.
That spooky word keeps coming up, doesn't it?
Yeah. He can't escape it. And he looks annoyed. He looks at Scully and
Yeah.
he just looks furious at this. Mulder tells him not to start with this crap, diverting the blame. And Larry tries to say something, but Mulder cuts him off straight away. And he says that if he's responsible for this spraying, he needs to take the blame before more people are killed. And he says that the killers are all from areas that have been heavily sprayed. Larry starts to say that he's not got anything to do with this. If he's got 3 kids in this town, so he's not going to start poisoning them, basically.
Yeah.
And Mulder asks why was it done in secret if it was so safe, which is a good point.
Yeah.
At this point, the sheriff snaps and he asks if they are spraying. And Larry says that they needed to do this. They needed to save the crops. The town depends on them. They don't want to be stuck in like a bureaucracy and this is where he mentions the other spraying case in Southern California. Apparently they did try the flies. These are radiated flies which were thrown out, but they didn't work, so they rushed through and signed this spray off. But Spencer says that this has led to 23 people being killed.
Yeah, and the blood's on his hands.
Yeah, essentially. Larry says that there's no proof that this can cause violence, to which Mulder says that who's proved this. Larry sort of stares at him and just walks out. He doesn't have anything else to say.
Or any proof.
yeah, exactly. But then Scully comes and bursts the bubble by saying that even after he's been sprayed, he's got no physiological changes. Scully says that the violence wouldn't be caused by this LSDM, this chemical. And Mulder looks at the TV while the sheriff goes...
That's a combination between a sheriff and a cherub.
Sheriff. They solve crimes and solve your heart problems. I meant love there, not
heart problems. Yeah.
That's what I call love. Heart problems.
And if you're listening, Tash.
My God. We need to... Anyway.
Do you think this is the most tangents we've gone on?
Deary me. I don't know what to edit in this one.
I just say leave it all.
Yeah,
leave it all.
The uncensored. Well, maybe not all. But Mulder looks at the TV and the word "do it" just flashes up on the screen. And then it starts getting bigger. And then it says "do it now." and then just shows a woman on the TV dancing around in a t-shirt that says "Do it."
Yeah.
So you're like, okay. Is he seeing these messages?
We don't know. That's the thing.
To which Mulder starts asking about subliminal messages, which Scully immediately discredits. But I always thought subliminal messages were like a fact.
Mulder says they're a fact.
Yeah.
He goes on to say it, but yeah, they definitely are. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot less plain sight nowadays.
Yeah.
But it used to be, I don't know, a guy drinking a can of Coke with two beauty models next to him and stuff like that.
Yeah, just to try and sell stuff.
I think get someone's attention.
There's a guy who basically was like the father of that kind of social psychology, where I can't remember what it's called. They basically called him like the father of propaganda because he taught companies how to sell stuff using psychology.
Yeah.
So yeah, Mulder starts to explain, as you mentioned, about these stores using stuff to deter shoplifters, and he also mentions that the Russians did use it to try and control behaviour. Again, these Russians are getting dragged into it. Again, the names thrown through the mud. It's not fair. But Scully asks how this is all connected. Mulder then mentions about the devices that are being destroyed at each of the scenes, and Mulder then starts to theorise that the chemical invoking this fear response in the already phobic perpetrators makes the phobia unbearable, and he mentions that they've all got different phobias, one being scared of confined spaces, agoraphobic, wasn't it, or something like that. The McRoberts had a phobia of rape, and basically all these people have got different phobias, and it heightened this, basically. And then the messages displayed how they can alleviate this fear. And he also says, as you brought up, I think earlier on in the episode, that these messages are being put there deliberately, some kind of controlled experiment.
That can't be right. That was a silly thing to put in here because it doesn't make sense.
I thought the same. It just feels like out of nowhere that this is in
How
there.
would they know where to put it all? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. So I'm just completely discounting that.
Exactly. Scully asks who would be doing this, and Spencer at this point just gets up and walks out, to which Mulder says that he's probably one of these people who thinks Elvis is dead. Scully gets her own quip and says, Mulder, I was wrong. Exposure to the insecticide does induce paranoia. Which I thought was quite a funny line. Yeah. Mulder thinks, that this is an experiment. And he says that there's examples of this being done before by the government with this DDT that he mentioned, and other stuff like Agent Orange and germ warfare. Scully asks why he would create a populace that would destroy itself, and Mulder thinks that's because they're trying to impose fear from them, so they don't question those that are above them. Whether he means government or aliens at this point, I literally don't know.
No, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Quite frankly, it doesn't matter.
No. Spencer comes back now after this, and he says that Larry has agreed that they'll stop spraying, and they'll start testing the people that have been exposed, but they can't say that the official explanation is for this LSDM. To which we then cut to Ed Finch's house. We see he's watching some TV, and there's an advert on for cholesterol testing, I think, isn't it? Like free cholesterol testing, which is obviously the cover story that they've come up with. And it shows blood on the TV as they're doing like the fingertip test, and he starts to panic. He looks around and sees his gun in this box, and he's got a shitload of bullets with it as well. Which I never understand this. Like he's clearly a weird character, and he's bought a rifle and enough ammo to take down like an army. Yeah,
it's strange. I mean, not to. I know we're having a lot of fun on this podcast, but not to take it down a dark path. But the scene coming up is quite hard to watch.
Yeah,
and I especially in today's day and age where you are right, he is clearly not well. He's gone into what essentially is a supermarket, not just bought a rifle, but also bought God knows how many bullets with no testing and whatnot. It just, especially in today's day and age, it just rings true even to this day.
I know in America it's a very controversial subject and stuff, and there's
and we can't wait.
There's opinions on both sides, but in this country, it's just so weird, to see somebody just go into a shop and just buy a load of ammo.
Yeah.
My fiance's dad has got a shotgun, and the amount of like checks he has to do and like all this regulation to own that is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it's just bizarre seeing it like so
It's alien to
so
us.
easy.
Yeah,
but anyway.
it is alien to us.
But yeah, this just I'd seen him do that, and I was like, this is weird.
Yeah, it is. It's very strange.
Yeah.
It is. But
anyway, we don't want to. We want to laugh more at this episode than we do.
we're obviously not making light of anything that's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, the doorbell goes, and it's a blood drive volunteer. And she's buzzing to try and get him to take the test. He starts panicking, and he hides inside. He closes the curtains, and he looks at the TV, which just says blood.
Oh, sorry. Ding.
And he gets angry and smashes the TV. And the woman keeps buzzing. Now,
she is
annoying. She's really annoying.
Like, oh my god! Like, no way. And like, how many times can you see blood in one day? Like, it's crazy. Is he seeing all this, or is he imagining it?
That's a good point. Like, maybe he is imagining this, and this is more in his head, like we said with Roberts from earlier.
Yeah,
which makes more sense, I think, if it is.
There's
imagined.
no way that this amount of sort of exposure to blood is. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. And especially not a donor that's.
Like anyone who did that. If I did that to my next door neighbour, they'd open the door and punch me in the face. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be so annoying if he did that. But anyway, he goes to his gun, closes the box, and he knocks off a calculator as he does this. Picks it up, and on this calculator it says blood. He smashes it and then looks at his watch, which also says kill.
Yeah.
We then see. Mulder is at the sheriff's office, and the sheriff's getting some test results back on the phone, not his own. Let's be clear. And they say that the areas that they've tested have all come back negative. There's only 25 people who haven't been checked. And of those 25...
It's mad, isn't it? It's such a get out. Oh yeah, we've checked the population. We just haven't checked Ed.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll be fine.
Yeah. So yeah, Ed's...
He's a postal worker.
He's going to be okay. He's fine.
Wait, he lost his job.
Oh no. I know, yeah. But yeah, he's the very next house that they need to check. So Mulder and Scully are at the door. They notice that the doorbell is ripped off, to which Scully says, "That's weird." That is pretty weird. Yeah. The door's unlocked, so they go in. And Mulder pulls a gun. Obviously, he's trying to stay alert on this. The house seems normal, apart from all of the electronics have been smashed, which is a bit of an alarm bell. And then Mulder does find the gun case, so they now know. You know, it's got a bit more.
It's gone south.
It's gone south, yeah. We then cut to Scully reading his file. And they explain who he is. He's 52. He's got no diploma, no license. He's ex-Navy radio. He's a widow, and he has no kids. And, as you mentioned, he's just been laid off. Now, that sounds like serial killer caliber to me. That's somebody who's had a bad day, and he
snaps. It's definitely enough to make someone snap.
Especially if you keep having somebody ring your bell like that. So that would be the tipping point for me.
Yeah. Note to self, never ring my bell.
Which makes me sound like a serial killer. But yeah, Mulder starts asking when the blood tester was here. And he says that they would have been there at 10:30, and his watch was smashed at 10:25. So we know that he's not had his bloods done. Mulder immediately knows what's happened, and he says he knows what he's afraid of. We then see a buzz pull up, and Ed starts running for the buzz as he pulls away, and he's got his duffel bag with him. He's sweating, starts looking around the buzz, and looks at the buzz display, like the coin counter thing, and it says they're waiting. And then it just says get off.
Yeah.
He tries to get off, but the driver tells him he can't. He's got to wait till the next stop. At which point, Ed loses it and just starts screaming for him to open the door. Is incensed completely at this point.
You definitely would not disagree with this guy.
Yeah, I'd open the door straight away and like be like, okay, go.
The sooner he's out of your face, the better.
Yeah. We see the sheriff looking for him as they're at the community hospital. A bus pulls up and the cops start surrounding it. But they notice that Ed doesn't get off. Mulder flashes his badge at the bus driver and he asks if he's seen Ed. And the driver tells him that he went nuts, so he let him off earlier. Understandable. And he says that he got off near the college. Scully says that they'll need to wait him out, but Mulder says that he's not going to wait.
Yeah.
Mulder looks up and sees a sign that's advertising the blood drive at the college. So instantly we know where he's gone.
Yeah.
We're then at Franklin Community College. We see Ed. He sees a sign that says "Look Up," and he looks up and sees a clock tower. We cut to Mulder, who's in hot pursuit. He's in the car. Scully's not in the car. I've noticed that she is sort of assisting, but again, a lot of just like waiting and not running around, which is understandable.
She's not in any of the action scenes.
Yeah. We then cut back to Ed, who's now climbing the tower, and he starts setting up the gun in the tower and just drops all his bullets on the floor. Mulder arrives and starts looking around. It cuts back to Ed, and he's loading his rifle and he starts aiming out of the tower. And we now see sort of shots cutting between Mulder and the sheriff and some other people. And so it's sort of to make you think, oh, who's going to get shot in this scene? And then we do hear a gunshot, and we see that the ambulance driver has been shot. Everyone starts to panic, and Mulder and the sheriff start telling everyone to get down. He fires again and shoots an orange bottle.
Yeah.
Mulder sees the gun at this point now and starts running from cover to cover to try and get to this tower. We see Ed load and keep firing, and he's just mumbling to himself.
It's a tough scene to watch, really. I thought because it's almost like he's losing his mind whilst he's doing it.
Yeah,
and just a really tough scene to watch because it's like you don't see any rhyme or reason why he's doing it. I don't think he sees any rhyme or reason why he's doing it.
I think
either.
At this point he's gone. You know
he's not making sense to himself.
No. I don't even think he's there anymore.
He sort of implies that to Mulder, doesn't he?
Yeah.
When he finally gets up to the clock tower. But yeah, it is a really tough scene to watch, to be honest, because you don't actually see anything. You just see him constantly loading, firing, and then his sort of little, not quirks, but mannerisms in between the shots.
But that's the thing. It starts coming back to him, and he's just losing it. He starts talking to himself about. He just starts saying something to you, baby, or something like that, doesn't he?
He's just making noises, basically. Yeah.
And we see the sheriff call it in, basically call for ambulances. Mulder gets into the tower and starts climbing the stairs. Mulder trips and cuts and falls on the steps. And I didn't understand this bit.
Well, they needed it because they needed his slash wound to open up to show the blood, which eventually catches Ed off guard.
Oh, I didn't even notice that he saw that. I must have looked down at that point.
So when Mulder holds him up at the end of the scene, he sort of tries to negotiate with him, and then he shows him the blood from his arm.
Ah, right, okay.
And that's why he had to trip the stairs.
I completely missed that part. So that did make sense.
And you said I needed notes.
Yeah. Mulder finally makes his way to the top, and he points his gun at Ed and tells him to put it down. And Ed is like a child at this point. He starts panicking, and Ed tells him not to kill him. Mulder tells him to put it down, and he won't. And he says that he can't. They won't let me, is what Ed says. Mulder says he knows. He's just trying to sympathize with him to get him to put his gun down. And Ed says that you'll need to make me put it down. And Mulder,
I'm assuming he means kill me.
Yeah, basically. At that point. Yeah. Or it's a threat, one of the two, yeah.
I felt like it was, the way he said it was more, I'm not going to stop because they won't let me stop. So the only way I'm going to stop hurting people is if you finish me now.
Yeah.
That's the way I read it. I could be wrong.
Yeah. Mulder says that if he doesn't put it down, either he will shoot him, or meaning Ed, or Ed will shoot Mulder. Either way, there's going to be blood everywhere, appealing to his fear. Ed freezes, but then tries to hit Mulder with the butt of the gun. Mulder grabs it and elbows him, and the gun goes flying.
And you see, he tries to hit him because Mulder shows him the blood in his sleeve.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't even pick up on that bit, but Mulder grabs him and puts him in like a lock on the floor, and Ed starts saying that they're going to kill him, but Mulder sort of reassures him. We then see Ed being wheeled out, basically strapped down to a what are they calling it? A gurney, is it, or something like that?
I don't know, like a straight jacket, sort of
thing.
Weird thing, yeah.
And the sheriff says that Scully's going to examine him. Mulder says that he wants unrestricted access for questioning. The sheriff says that Ed probably doesn't know any more than Mulder does at this point. So, and they both walk away, and Mulder starts to call Scully, or attempts to call Scully, and he hears a funny noise, looks down, and sees on the display, all done, and then bye-bye.
On his phone.
Display screen, and then it cuts back to Scully on the other line as the episode fades to black. I don't know what that bit was at the end. I guess it's just meant to be like that typical X-Files ending where
well, I mean, if you're to believe Mulder, it's someone has planned all of this, I suppose.
Yeah,
it's
I guess.
The official story. I would put it down to maybe residue of the effects from the dust
that
he had.
Maybe.
So it's just sort of this sort of lingering LSD effect.
Maybe, yeah. But anyway, that's the end of the episode. What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it was all right. It was an okay episode. I stopped taking it seriously, and I enjoyed it for what it was. But like you said, I think they just tried to fit way too many different themes into this one episode with the whole like sort of digital sort of readouts, ordering them to do things. The dust that plays on people's fears, everyone having fears. I don't know. It just felt a little bit too cramped for me.
Yeah, I mean, my feelings you probably picked up through the episode. I didn't think it was that great. I thought that these messages on the screen were just way too corny. And looking at it afterwards, a lot of people sort of said that it's meant for more of a comedic effect. But I just didn't find it that funny.
I don't think it was funny now.
And it just put me off the episode. And the actual science of like this chemical spray like changing into an effect, that was interesting. I thought that was kind of
the messages,
but there was so much other things in it that just made no sense, and it just became so convoluted in it. I like that we saw Lone Gunman. I think that was the shining scene of the episode.
I'm looking forward to seeing more of them.
Yeah, I really am. I also thought that the lack of Scully in this episode, especially, like the other ones that weren't too bad, like we could get by. This episode you really miss Scully in this one. I found, and also I thought like Mulder was was making quips and stuff, but I don't know if Mulder just didn't seem Mulder enough in this episode. I don't know why.
He needs someone to play off, I think.
Yeah.
He doesn't need it, but I think it works so much better when he has someone to play off.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I say, it's not the worst episode I've seen, but I didn't... I would have sort of... It was the lower half of okay for me.
I'm not rushing back to watch it again.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's the episode this week. So yeah, that's the end of the episode. So we'll just get into our feedback from last week, or last week's episode. So I believe we've had some correspondence on Twitter.
Yeah, we've had a few tweets.
Correspondence on Twitter. I sound way too... We've had some correspondence on Twitter.
Well, the correspondence...
Yeah. I sound like ITV News at that moment. Anyway.
Well, we had Meredith tweet us to tell us about something we sort of... I think we got it right.
I think so, yeah.
Last week, but we wasn't sure about it.
Yeah.
So she corrects us to an extent on the building that we didn't know the name of, and it was the United States Capitol, aka the Capitol Building. She goes on to explain it's located on Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
If you're talking about the big white, sort of a white domed building, which it was. And she said, "Don't feel bad. I'm pretty sure our current president wouldn't know either."
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very good point.
I feel like we've got an excuse as we're not the president.
We've not been there.
or that.
So yeah, thank you for that. It always helps to have someone push us in the right direction when we get something wrong, especially when it's to do with sort of anything in America.
Yeah,
because
correct our lack of knowledge.
we make ourselves look so stupid sometimes.
We also had a few tweets from Ray, who mentioned that Squeeze was the first episode that they'd watched. This was in response to us asking about how people...
Yeah, we was asking
about how they watched the episodes.
What a great first episode.
I know, yeah, that'd be brilliant.
To watch.
That would be brilliant to jump in on for the first time, yeah. But she says that Squeeze was the first episode that she watched. I was blown away by it. I'm hooked. I checked out the pilot and previous episode afterwards. And she also mentioned that she originally watched it when it aired in 1993. And she also did say that she's glad that in our last episode, the host, that we found the episode to be great like she did. And she also put that she'd like to say that she loves our podcast theme, Mulder and Scully by Katie Pham and the Moonbathers, which definitely check out.
Without a doubt. I don't think we give our themes... I love our theme song.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think we give... I mean, I know we put it in every podcast notes and whatnot, but I don't think we give them enough credit because it's an amazing cover of the song, and they were lovely enough to let us use it for the podcast intro.
Yeah, I mean, definitely check out their other stuff as well. Like they've got, I think it's like 3 EPs or something like that on their Bandcamp, which we do list in the podcast notes as well. So check them out there, and I'm sure you can find the rest of their music.
Some really good songs. Mm-hmm. And we also got had Kathy get in touch with us as well. She said that she really enjoyed, this is talking about last episode, really enjoyed our observations that the show treats its viewers like intelligent people, and that's one of the things I most appreciate about the X-Files.
Yeah.
Which, like we said last week, it's something that doesn't usually happen. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of times where TV treats their viewers like idiots now, having to explain everything. We went through this last week, and X-Files doesn't do that all the time, it's a nice little change. She goes on to say that while she enjoyed the production notes jingle from our previous episode, I want to believe you can do better. And I'm right there with her on this point. I
feel like we have
done better. Like, well, we'll find out. We'll find out. Let us know if this is better or not. I mean, we just have to keep... We don't want Beyonce to be like... We want to lead up to it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Beyonce's the end game. But we can't get Beyonce straight away. Let's work.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. You never know.
Well, you never know. I mean, if Beyonce gets back in touch, that'd be insane.
That would be very insane. Almost unbelievable.
But thank you everyone for your tweets and messages. We love hearing from you, and we love hearing everyone's views and sort of stories about what they thought about the X-Files.
Yeah. So, I mean, on that note, if you want to get in touch with us, you can find us on Facebook if you search for Most Unwanted Podcast. We're on Twitter at Most Unwanted Pod, which is the same as Instagram. And we also, you can get in contact via email, and it's mostunwantedpodcast@gmail.com. I believe that's everything, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, get in touch, let us know. And as always... Go and give us a review. Go and share the podcast. It all helps get us up the rankings on iTunes. So I know it's a pain to do, but your 5 minutes really does help us get up those rankings and get it accessible for more people. So we'd really appreciate it.
Exactly. Just on that note, we'll be back next week with Sleepless, I believe the episode is called.
Yes.
I suppose on that note, we'll catch you next week.
Oh, I wish I had something funny to say.
Do it now.
Luke's thing. What was it?
Luke's thing.
I gave you specific instructions. That was the only 3 things that needs to be in it was Luke's production notes.
Oh, yeah.
You got one of them.
Yeah, I couldn't remember it. All right, Checks. Do you want to just pipe down a bit? It's my first time. I'm not used to the pressure.
Yeah, it's pressure. It's a lot of pressure in it.
Put that on your outtakes.
Oh, we will.
Have we ever dropped the F-bomb in it yet?
Why'd you say that just because I'm here?
I think so.
Well, you literally just dropped it.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Put that in your f***ing outtakes.
Oh, I didn't even know.
I don't think we've dropped the F-bomb yet.
You'll have to
know.
beat
We've
me out.
swore. We've definitely swore.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure, like, in passing we've said...
Definitely not.
Yeah, we've never done that.
I think
I don't think we'll ever will.
I think I did a little
in
burp
what
at the same-
in what situation in the X-Files do you go, what a
What are you, what was the thing again? Luke's presentation notes. Can you write it down?
Luke's production notes.
Okay.
As I say, it can be just
I'm going to stick with my...
Okay.
Alright. Right, you ready?
Luke's podcast notes.
This surely on.
Production.
We've got
Okay.
2 minutes of gold here.
Comedy gold. Apart from the and the F-bomb.
I like how she says and then says F-bomb.
Okay. Production notes.
Luke's production now.
Luke's production notes.
I mean, that was great, but Luke was talking over the initial.
Yeah.
Fine.
I mean,
I'll do it again. Rome wasn't built in a day.